On this episode of the Hoop Life Productions podcast, AJ and Chance go over their top 50 NBA players. It's very controversial, lots of, little arguments in there. Let us know in the comments down below how terrible our lists are. We're all for it, but, at the end of the day, your list isn't better than mine. So yeah, let's get right into it. This should be a lot of fun.
Oh boy.
Yeah, this might get really controversial. Like I said earlier, let us know in the comments down below how terrible our lists are. So
yeah, go ahead. Just know you're wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for real. So we're just gonna start at 50 and work our way down.
Would be up actually. Wouldn't you work your way up? Or no, down.
No.
Down is correct. Yeah.
No, you're an idiot.
Yeah. All right.
So let's do 50 through 40.
All right.
So at 50, I had Kyle Lowry. Who did you have?
I had Kyle Lowry.
Dude, no way. What are the chances?
We're going over our lists, and we're very similar in a lot of our places.
Like we live like 35 minutes away from each other, and like when we made our list, we were nowhere near each other,
Yeah.
or even knew that we were like doing the list. So
Yeah.
for us to like get the same guys at certain spots is kind of crazy. But yeah, we had Kyle Lowry at number 50. He's still doing his thing on the Raptors. They're not winning as much this year, but like he's still the same Kyle Lowry. Like his production is still really good. So I think he's still good enough to have be in the top 50.
Yeah, I mean he's just one of those. He's one of the better floor generals in the league. Has been for a while now. He doesn't do anything spectacular, but he makes everyone play together, and he can hit big shots when he needs to. And just put him at 50, just because for the obvious reason, as good as he is, everyone above him is better.
Right.
And so yeah, that's not really all I have for him.
And then at 49, I had Tobias Harris. 48, I had Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and then at 47, I had Rudy Gobert. Tobias Harris, I think at this point, slightly better than Kyle Lowry. The third option on the Sixers right now. I think he's really good for a third option, and like they have one of the best records in the league right now, and he's a big part of that. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 48. He's definitely risen up my board this year with his ability to like lead a I wouldn't say lack of talent on OKC, but like they're not in a position to he's getting the most out of the guys that he has around him. So he's
lack
really
of experience, good. Really, that's what it is.
And then I had Rudy Gobert at 47. Still one of the best rim protectors in the league, and that's really valuable for any team, and especially Utah.
So yeah, I mean our list changed a little bit there with Shai and Rudy. I have them quite a bit higher than what you do, but I have John Wall at 49.
Okay.
I won't go over everybody, but I'll go with John Wall right away just because.
Yeah, I actually had Lowry/Wall at 50 because that's kind of a toss-up for me.
Yeah, because of his injury, but the way he's been playing, I have him slightly above Kyle Lowry. But then I have Tobias also, and then I have at 47, I have Fred VanVleet. Kemba all the way down at 46. I know that might be a little controversial.
Okay.
And then I have Pascal Siakam at 45, who I don't think any of us thought would be at 45 at the beginning of the season.
So you had Pascal at 45 as well?
Yeah.
Okay. That's just crazy.
That's crazy.
How many guys we have at like the same spots. But yeah, Pascal a year ago would be a lot higher in this list, like maybe in the 20s, right?
Yeah.
And he's fallen into like 45 for us, but like that speaks to how talented the NBA is, and like
most talented it's ever been.
Yeah, and you have to produce every year, and in terms of production, it's fallen off a little bit for him, but still a really valuable NBA player
For sure.
And then I had Van Vliet right behind him at 46. Like Pascal, he's really valuable to a Toronto Raptors team that has been in the playoffs the last decade it seems like, but was a part of the championship team, has gotten consistently better every year. So yeah, I had him at 46. Where did you have Van Vliet?
Van Vliet was at 47 for me. I mean,
Okay, so that's pretty close.
all these guys in these areas are, you can change them around. It doesn't really get controversial to like the top 25 maybe, but yeah, I mean, basically, I agree with everything you said. I just don't have him above a guy like Kemba, but neither do you. But my Kemba's all the way down to 46 for me.
Yeah. So. 44, I had Christian Wood. He's very...
So do I.
Really? Dude, what? This is crazy. Oh my, dude, how is this even okay, anyways. Christian Wood is definitely new to a top 50 list, but like he's averaging, he's a walking 20 and 10 every night, and he's playing really well for a Rockets team. So yeah. I had him at 44.
And he could get even higher.
Yeah, for sure. He's definitely climbing. And then I had De'Aaron Fox and Gordon Hayward just ahead of them. Who did you have just ahead of them?
At 43, I have Gordon Hayward. And at 42, I have De'Aaron Fox. I swear to God.
Holy cow. You just mismatched them. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I have Shea above Fox because right after those guys, at 41, I have Jeremy Grant. And then 40, I have Shea.
Okay.
But
I have Jeremy Grant at 40. So.
Okay. I just think Shea is just a little better. And I take a liking to guys who can play well off the ball, and he does that a lot better than De'Aaron Fox. So that's just all it really is. And,
okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But
let's talk about De'Aaron Fox.
Okay.
I think he's in a new situation. I think he would put up better numbers than he does now. Like right now, he still puts up good numbers, but like Sacramento's not a place where you can exactly fulfill your complete potential. But like he's one of the fastest guys in the league, attacks the rim really well. Just the one thing he struggled with is the 3-point shot. He's been a little bit inconsistent. He's kind of like a Russell Westbrook to me, like a younger Russell Westbrook. Would you agree with that?
Yeah,
that's a good comparison.
He's not quite the volume shooter that Russ has always been. I mean, even like we drafted him as a rookie and he was a volume shooter, but obviously he shoots a lot because he runs that offense. But yeah, a Russell Westbrook, a John Wall type of guy. I like John Wall comparison maybe a little more just because of I mean, for one, he came out of Kentucky, just like John Wall, but his speed, John Wall has always been like fast.
John Wall also struggled with his 3-point shot for most of his career.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. So did Westbrook. He still does.
Yeah, unless Gordon Hayward, I had at 42. You had him at
43.
43. Okay,
Yeah.
so pretty close there.
Just a shout out to Gordon Hayward. Like
he's had so many injuries, but he's really bounced back this year.
He's having his career year right now. Like people aren't talking about that.
Like exactly. He's putting up better numbers than he did in Utah, which is
insane.
Yeah, it is insane. He's pretty much living up to that $30 million contract now. 3 years down the road, is he still living up to it?
Probably
not. That'll remain to be seen, right? Yeah. But I think his play style, he can still put up numbers like when he's 34, 35. I still think he'll be able to produce. Yeah. Even with a $30 million contract.
Yeah, I agree completely. Like he'll always be, anyone who could shoot is going to stay in the league longer than someone who can't.
Yeah.
And as long as he's able to do that and stay healthy, I mean, he's going to be in the league for a while. And the way he's playing right now is really helping Charlotte. So shout out to him.
Yeah, and that 41 I had is former teammate Kemba Walker. Last year I think he would be a little bit higher on our list, but he's had a little bit of injuries. He's like a third option now on a really good Celtics team, but he still does Kemba things. Like he's got the mean crossover. Can get to any spot he wants to on the floor, hitting the three at a higher percentage. He's just always been kind of a liability on the defensive end. You just kind of exactly. You just kind of stick him in the corner and let the other guys do their thing on the defensive end. But Kemba's still a really valuable player. And then at 40, I had Jeremy Grant, who has flown into the top 50. Like before
into
this
the top
season,
70.
Before this season, like was Jeremy Grant even like a top 100 player?
I think
I think
people
he
that
squeaks into
yeah,
the top 100, but like,
I think people that like, I don't want to act like I saw this coming at all.
no, I
But
didn't either. Even
as
as
a
a Pistons
Thunder
fan.
fan who watched him play, like I absolutely saw his progression, and I remember talking to like some other Thunder fans saying that Denver was not utilizing him at all correctly last year. Like if you look now, there's no reason that Paul Millsap should have started over him last year.
No, definitely not.
But so it doesn't shock me in the extent that he's playing the way he is, but it also shocks me that he's like the number one option and as great as he's been shooting the ball. So yeah,
Yeah, I
it's,
think
it's awesome to see him up here. He was like my second favorite player on the Thunder.
Yeah, with Jeremy, it's all about opportunity, and he got it with Detroit. He got the $20 million contract, and he's totally take advantage of it. Detroit's one of the worst teams in the league, but Jeremy Grant is definitely a bright spot in that. So, moving on to our 39 through 30 list, I had Kristaps Porzingis at 39, Nikola Vucevic at 38, and Malcolm Brogdon at 37.
All right, so I had Kristaps Porzingis at 39.
Okay.
Then it switches up. I have Gobert at 38. His defensive impact, I gotta show him some love, especially the impact he's had. The way that they're on a 10-game winning streak now. Is it 11 now or is it 10? But Utah is playing great,
10,
so
yeah.
I gotta show love to him. And then
I respect that for sure.
at 37, I had Malcolm Brogdon. He's having just such a great.
You had him at 37 as well? Okay. This is crazy.
He's just having such a great year, man. Like he's really hooping.
He brings it on both sides of the floor, and like
his size at point guard really helps him.
he kind of reminds me of Drew Holiday in a way.
Yeah.
Would you say that's a decent comparison, right? Like
Yeah, Drew Holiday
can drop 20 on offense, and then on the defensive end he locks you up. So
yeah, that's a really good comparison. I'd agree with that. Drew Holiday's probably the best one for him. He's a little bigger, but
yeah. So Kristaps Porzingis, we talked a little bit we talked about him in the Bradley Beal video because he's a guy that they can definitely throw on the market for a guy like Bradley Beal. But Porzingis, when he plays, is pretty productive, like a 20 and 10 guy, will block some shots. But the biggest problem with him is not production, but just staying on the court. Like
yeah, the production is not a worry at all. You just gotta stay healthy.
Yeah, and then 38, I had Nikola Vucevic just ahead of Porzingis. Like Vucevic is just really steady. He's a really good regular season player, and like it seems like he always overachieves, and the Magic do as well. Like the last couple of years, I'm like, they probably won't make the playoffs. There's more talented teams than them, but like Nikola Vucevic continues to like up his game every year, and he's got the Magic playing pretty decent basketball without Jonathan Isaac and Markelle Fultz. So
yeah, I had DeMar DeRozan at 36.
Okay, I had him at 35.
Okay, he's just.
I had Zion at 36.
Okay,
so
I have Zion a little higher. Lower, but he's such a. DeRozan's underrated. He's become underrated. Like his impact on the Spurs is so big. Like his ability to score and all around, he's become a better all around player. When he was in Toronto, he was really just a scorer, but he's really rounded his game out, and he's playing like the small ball for them. So
like if you want to be the starter for the San Antonio Spurs, like you got to be able to bring it on the defensive end. And I think he's not like I still wouldn't say he's a plus defender, but he's better than what he was, and I think has a lot to do with Greg Popovich and his system. So he's got the Spurs overachieving compared to what I thought they would do. He's playing the 4 now, which is crazy because I never thought of DeMar playing power forward. Like that's crazy. Like some of the matchups, I feel like that would be kind of weird on defense. What do you think?
He's even an undersized small forward. He's 6'4", I believe. So I think he's somewhere around there.
Right. Yeah.
So
it's crazy.
So it's crazy to see him playing the 4.
They got him at the 4 and then Aldridge at the 5, which makes sense because Aldridge is so old and like he's just slow as molasses at this point. So
the dinosaur. And then at 35, I had Vucevic. All the same reasons as you. Vucevic is like the main reason I think that Andre Drummond's not going to get an All-Star nod this year as well as he's playing. You look at Embiid.
And he took Drummond's spot a few years ago, too.
Yeah, you look at Embiid and now Vucevic, it's just, he's hooping, man. And then I have Drew Holiday at 34.
Okay, I had CJ McCollum.
Okay.
And then I had Drew a couple spots ahead of CJ, so I actually had Zion at 36 and I didn't talk about him, so I'll give him his credit right now. Zion, you know, he's I think he's living up to that number one pick so far. Like he can get 20 and 8 and defensively he's not there yet, but like the roster is just so like weirdly constructed around Zion to where I don't think he's going to reach his max potential until they get better guys around him. So
that might be our first like big difference. Now I'm looking at it. I do not have CJ McCollum on my list.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know
Did you forget him?
I might have forgot him because I think I would take him over Kyle Lowry and John Wall.
Okay.
So we'll just put him in there somewhere.
I'm just going to give CJ his credit.
Yeah.
So I had him at 34 because although he's injured at the moment, I'm not sure when he's going to come back. But, you wish him good health and all that. But when he was playing, he was averaging more points than Damian Lillard this year. And when he's doing that, you got to put him in your top 50 somewhere. I just decided to put him at 34.
I don't want to get taken out of context. He's absolutely a top 50 player. I think I messed up there.
Yeah. No worries.
But so then at 33, I have Russell Westbrook.
I do too. Dude, wow.
He's having
I thought you'd have him higher because he's your favorite player. But
my favorite player. Yeah, I can't be biased.
I'll give you your credit. You're not biased.
Yeah,
I love that.
He's having a rough season for his standards, but yeah. I was talking to Chance.
I thought about putting him lower, to be honest.
I was talking to Chance earlier today, and I kind of made the list not based off just this season, but also what we know about these guys over the. Because if we did just this season, Julius Randle's a top 25 player, and I didn't want to do that, but I also want to show love to guys that are hooping this year. So some guys are higher than other guys, but they're not going to be up there solely for that reason. Yeah. So that's why Russ is still on this list, even though he's as low as he is.
Yeah, next year's list could look totally different. Yeah, like that's just kind of how the NBA is. It's changing every year. So, I didn't say anything about Russ, but obviously right now he's not playing as good as he usually does. The inefficiency is a problem, turnovers are a problem, and the Wizards just aren't winning any games at the moment. And I think when he was healthy last year, the Rockets, there was like a 2-month stretch where he was the best player on their team, and he was averaging like a triple-double, like he usually does. But yeah, Russ, I hope I'm wrong, but he just seems like he's kind of heading towards that latter half of his career. So, but yeah, and then at 32, I had Drew Holiday. So where did you have Drew?
Drew was at 34 for me. At 32, I had Chris Middleton, Zion at 31, and Ja at 30.
Okay.
I know Zion's a little high compared to the low amount of games he's played, but we all know when he plays how good he is, so I had him there. And then Ja has just been better he's been just as good as Zion, and he's been playing most of his games.
Yeah, I must have Ja quite a bit. Oh, no, I had Ja at 28, so I'll talk about him in a little 30, bit. So. But, back to Drew Holiday. If you ask any NBA player, like, Drew Holiday always seems to be in that conversation for most underrated. Would you agree with that? Yeah. Because for the last decade now, he's averaged 20, and then he's one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, and he just doesn't get enough credit for that.
Kevin Durant said on, I think it was JJ Redick's podcast, I think he said that Drew Holiday is the best perimeter guard defender in the league. Over guys like Marcus Smart, Patrick Beverley, I don't know, other guys, John Wall.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of NBA players say Drew Holiday is the most underrated player in the NBA by far. So, I had him at 32. I had Middleton at 31.
Okay.
He's been the running mate with Giannis ever since he was drafted, pretty much. So, and him and Giannis have just gotten a little bit better every year. Like they've kind of grown together in Milwaukee, and Middleton's like a walking 25 points per game at least.
Walking 50, 40, 90 is what he is.
Yeah, true. Like really efficient.
Yeah.
He's a perfect teammate for Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's never going to be a better player than Giannis, but he's definitely a good player to have as a second option.
Yeah, I agree completely. And then right above. So here we'll do 29 through 20. I had right above Ja at 30. I had Jamal Murray. They're really close. Ja you can trust more because it seems like Jamal Murray can't decide if he's Michael Jordan or
Jamal Murray.
or Jamal Murray every night. Like he just, like he's not consistent.
Bubble Murray is like the best player in the league, honestly.
Yeah, and we've seen him hoop. So and he's been around longer. So I just have him slightly above Ja, but I'm sure that'll change. And then 28, I have Ben Simmons, and then Domantas Sabonis at 27.
Okay, so I had Ja at 28, Sabonis at 29, and then Ben Simmons at 30. Simmons is a guy that he kind of has a bad rap just because he's not much of a scorer. He's only averaging like 12 or 13 points right now. But he literally does everything else at such an elite level that like he holds a ton of value at point guard. Like a 6'10" point guard, he can guard every position. Doesn't matter who it is. Like
I think that's what people don't realize when I talk about Ben Simmons. They always say, "Yeah, he can't shoot," or "No, yeah, he's good at everything except shooting, but he can't shoot." But no,
Yeah.
he's elite at everything. He's not just good. Like literally every other facet of his game, he's top 5 to 10 at his position. Like rebounding, he's amazing. Defensively, he was my DPOY pick. Passing, he's amazing. Like he just does everything so well that it's hard to overlook that.
Yeah, I had a hard time like putting him at 30 even. Like
I had a hard time ranking him in general.
Like he's a guy that could be like in the top 20, but then other guys might value scoring more and they'll drop him. So yeah, I have him at 30. I think he could definitely continue to rise as he improves, but he hasn't improved a whole lot since he got drafted, but like even coming out of the draft, he was really good immediately. So, yeah, at 29, I had Sabonis. Sabonis is a guy that just gets better every year, right? And he's become one of the most underrated players in the league, much like his teammate, Malcolm Brogdon.
He's become like a replica of most people aren't even gonna know because they're not obsessed with the game like we are. But his father played for the Trailblazers a long time ago, Arvydas Sabonis, and like they're like the same player. His dad.
Yeah, their games are really similar.
His dad was just way bigger, but they're like the same guy.
They have an unlimited amount of post moves.
And they're great passers too.
Yeah, true. And then Sabonis has definitely stretched his range out a little bit every single year in the league. So he's got the Pacers playing really good ball, and he should definitely be an all-star again this year. And then I had Ja Morant at 28.
Okay.
Where did you have Ja again?
I had him at 30.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. So Ja, like, he's going to be a guy that continues to rise up this list. He's been kind of in and out of the lineup with injuries this year, but like when he plays, the production is unmatched. Really, like he's got the Grizzlies like overachieving again this year, and they could definitely grab one of those last playoff spots. So I like him this year, and then like the next 15 or so years to be one of the top point guards in the league.
Yeah, I agree completely. So what are we at here? We're at 26 now.
I'm at 27. I had Jamal Murray, and then 26 I had Brandon Ingram.
So did I.
And then
that's crazy.
25 I had Zach LaVine.
Okay. The thing
Let's talk about Jamal Murray. Where did you have Jamal Murray?
Jamal Murray was 29 for me.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about Jamal Murray. We kind of did a little bit, but like I didn't get to talk about him too much. Like, I think he's been a little bit disappointing in terms of production, but when you're playing with a guy that is as good as Nikola Jokic, like they run the offense completely through him, so he's kind of playing a lot of off the ball.
Mm-hmm. He's just asked to be a scorer. That's it.
Yeah, like he's still pretty efficient this year. Like, he's doing his thing, and then hopefully once the playoffs come around again, he'll be able to, go to another level again. So, yeah, and then at 26, I had Brandon Ingram.
So did I.
So did you. Okay, so.
The thing about this, like 26, 25 through probably like 15, 14, the thing about it is all these guys are so close for me. Like, this spot, like, Jason Tatum is a lot higher than Brandon Ingram on this list for me, but I don't think they're that far apart. But it's just because all these guys are so close in terms of how they've been playing. Yeah. So I had Brandon Ingram at 26, which you said you did as well. So.
Yeah. Yeah, Brandon Ingram obviously broke out last year into a top 50 player. He's been pretty similar in terms of production this year, but like when you're a 25-point per game scorer, it's hard to like improve from that. But he's definitely gotten better every year of his career, and The Pelicans are struggling, but he's definitely not the problem there.
Not at all. He's hooping, and his efficiency gets better every year, and his free throw. Like I've watched probably 5, 6 Pelican games this year, and he gets to the line like all the time, and that probably is why his scoring is so high, because he's not like an amazing shooter, but he's a volume shooter, and so that's why I have him there. And then
Now moving into our top 25.
I have a kind of controversial one at 25.
Okay.
I don't know if it's controversial. I have Klay Thompson. It's literally just because we've barely seen him play in the last 2 years, and I'm trying to show him his respect that he's earned.
Okay.
But there's a few guys above.
Yeah, I had
him.
Clay in my top 20, but we'll get to that later.
There's a few guys above him that he's better than, but we just
you don't know how he's going to come back from 2 knee injuries.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, his play style isn't to where, like, he relies on athleticism. So I still think he'll be able to come back and at least be a spot-up shooter. Like, he'll still be really good.
Yeah.
I just think defensively will be
Big question.
Be a
Because that's always
question,
been
right.
such a big part of his game.
right. Yeah,
Is his
really
ability
good
to
on
hide
both ends.
Steph because he's such a great defender.
Like, I think he'll always be one of the top shooters in the league. I don't think
That doesn't go
like
away.
knee surgeries aren't going to take away your shooting. So
Ray Allen was
unless you're
hitting
Blake
threes
Griffin, unless
until
you're
he-
Blake Griffin.
Yeah, Ray Allen was hitting threes till he rolled out of the league. So I
Yeah,
think,
exactly.
uh,
Yeah, but I had Zach LaVine
okay.
at 25. He's become one of the best scorers in the NBA, straight up.
I think he's like second or
He's
third.
kind of on the same boat with Bradley Beal on that. They're putting up a lot of points, but it's not necessarily translating to wins because their teammates just straight up aren't getting the job done. So,
Yep.
so yeah, Zach LaVine kind of broke out last year, and then he's kind of continued it into this year, and he's averaging almost 30 points. And the Bulls are getting more wins now, so he's starting to get more recognition. I hope he gets an All-Star nod.
I want to be careful when I say this because I'm not comparing them as players, but he reminds me of Kobe Bryant in the way that he's like one of the best tough shot makers in the league. Like, I've watched a few Bulls games and a lot of highlights, and he makes threes that are just contested, crazy shots.
LaVine?
Yeah, and he's like one of the best tough shot makers in the
I
league.
can see that because he's so like athletic. He can shoot over guys.
He can shoot over guys. He happens to wear the number 8. I'm not comparing them again, but
Yeah.
it's kind of cool.
So at 24, I had Chris Paul. 23, I had Trae Young just ahead of him. And then at 22, I had Bam Adebayo.
Oh my God. Okay, so we're all off one, but I have LaVine at 24, Chris Paul at 23, Trae Young at 22, and Bam
That
Adebayo
is
at 21.
crazy. Wow.
That's insane.
Okay. It's like crazy how similar our lists are. And we promised to our viewers,
Yeah.
like, we didn't know. Well, we knew we were making our top 50 list, but we didn't share them until the video started.
I was
so.
making my list. His list is on our like Google Docs form that we do for the show. My list is on my phone because I was at the store, so I wasn't able to look
And I
at the
did this
Google Docs.
like a week ago, too.
Yeah,
and you
and
probably just did it.
I
so.
did it earlier this morning, so that
It's
shows
crazy.
you it's insane.
But yeah, Chris Paul, he's just like an ageless wonder, like the point god. You just know what he's gonna bring, like defense. Can score it from anywhere on the floor. He's gotten a little bit slower in old age, but like he's also gotten wiser too, and he's just a great teammate. So I still think he deserves to be a top 25 player.
I feel like I'm constantly making NFL comparisons on this show, but if you follow the NFL, you know what Tom Brady did with the Buccaneers this year. Chris Paul reminds me in this way that Tom Brady did. Tom Brady didn't have to do anything spectacular like this year, as himself, but what they both do is they come to teams and they limit mistakes. Like, that's what he did, because you saw Jameis Winston threw 30 picks, and all he had to do was come to that team with talent and not do that. And Chris Paul did that. He took a young team last year in the Thunder and limited mistakes and let the young guys shine, and then shined himself. And I think he's doing that in Phoenix again.
Yeah, I think the worst thing that the Rockets did was trading Chris Paul, to be honest. Like,
which is weird because at the time
he was
everyone wanted him.
He was a way better fit with James Harden than Russell Westbrook was. But yeah, CP3, the ageless wonder, continues to produce at a high level, and he just turns, like, the last couple of years, he just turns kind of underwhelming teams into these like playoff contending roster. So it's really impressive what he's done. And then Trae Young,
He's Titus Curry. He's just
yeah,
he just gets he's a bucket.
unlimited range.
Yeah.
He's not Steph Curry in terms of percentage, but like he'll shoot the same shots as Steph.
Yeah, he shoots crazier ones. Like
Yeah.
he'll pull up from basically half court sometimes, and there's not.
Yeah, but he's just a liability on the defensive end from his lack of size. But I think that's really the big problem, the Hawks. I think when it comes to the playoffs, obviously he hasn't played a playoff game yet, but when it comes to the playoffs, his defense is going to be even more of a problem because I think teams will game plan on exploiting some of his issues on the end. What do you think about that?
And I think that's why I agree with you, and I think that's why they're trying to surround him with like either really good defenders or big guards. Like for Chris Dunn, as bad as he is offensively, he's like an elite defender. And I think that's why they put him there with next to Trey. And same thing, Bogdanovich he's a bigger guy for his for his position, and then Cam Reddish runs the 2 or 3 most of the time.
Yeah, I really like the way they've constructed the roster. Like,
Yeah.
they had a lot of cap space, and I think they used it right. It's just some of the guys they signed have been a little bit banged up early on in the year, but
Rondo too.
yeah, they've still managed to like pick up their play, and I think they'll be a playoff team by the end of the year. So
I agree.
And then 22, I had Bam Adebayo. At this time, probably 2 years ago, he might not even be in the top 100. But he took the starting job from Hassan Whiteside when they traded Whiteside. Bam Adebayo comes in, and now he's just a perennial all-star playing with Jimmy Butler.
Those centers in the East are really good. Like, we have Embiid, Bam, Vucevic, Miles Turner, Andre Drummond. Like, you got some studs in the East. So shout out to Bam. I mean, he was the most improved last year, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, he just.
I had a lot of trouble with comparing him and Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah.
I had Karl Anthony Towns just ahead of him.
Okay, I have
just
Karl Anthony Towns a little bit more ahead. But.
Okay, just for Towns' resume is obviously better than Bam's at the moment, but I don't think Towns will make an All-Star team this year, and Bam probably will because his team's just better. But but yeah, Towns is still one of the best centers in the league. I think I have him as my third best center behind Jokic and Embiid, obviously.
I do
but
as well.
Towns probably the best shooter
He's
at center that the NBA has ever seen.
Statistically he is. He's so good from out there, which says a lot because nowadays all the guys can shoot, and he's the top of all of them. So we're coming into the top 20 here.
Yeah, we're into the top 20, and my first player in the top 20 is Jaylen Brown.
At 20?
Yeah.
So it's mine.
Okay. I love that. Yeah, Jaylen Brown, I got to give him his credit. Like, he's playing like a top 25 player this year, averaging 28 points.
28, yeah.
While Jason Tatum was out, he kind of took the reins as the guy. Obviously, when Tatum comes back, they're both kind of like the guy.
He's an elite defender as well. So.
Yeah, he brings it on both sides of the ball. He's just become a really good player. I don't know if I expected him to be this good.
Yeah,
I knew defensively he would be really good because like he's just kind of got a knack for it, but like I just didn't think the offense would come with that, like at least to this level.
He's always been able, not always, but the last 2 years he's been able to shoot it well, but it's the being able to shoot it off the dribble and create his own shot this year that's really taken him to that second.
Yeah, he's really worked hard in the offseason to get to where his game is at now. So, and then right above him, I have the OG 3-time champ Klay Thompson.
Okay.
I still have to give him respect and put him in the top 20, just ahead of Jaylen Brown. Obviously Jaylen Brown is better right now, but I just want to give credit to Klay for what he's done in his career because I think if he's playing, he's still a top 20 player.
I also feel really old because you just called Klay Thompson OG. And Klay feels like the Warriors.
He kind of is.
He is. He is at this point. But it just feels like, I don't think of him like that way. But
you know who I'd rather have?
Who?
I want Iguodala.
I want Mason Plumlee. But so at 19, I have Donovan Mitchell.
Okay, I had him at 17.
Okay, and then at 18, I have Karl Anthony Towns. I have him a little bit higher than you, just because his offensive game is ridiculous to me, and
it is.
We've seen how great he can be, and
He'll give it to you from anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and we talked earlier in the last podcast about Wiggins and how he had to get out of that environment. And I think if Cat could too, then we would see how much higher on this list he could probably be.
I think Towns needs not necessarily his Kobe Bryant to Shaq, but like more of a perimeter playmaker because he's never really had like Ricky Rubio. Yeah, he's a good playmaker, but like it's Ricky Rubio. He's not an all-star or anything.
Hopefully, we could see Anthony Edwards be that guy. But,
yeah, I pretty much just want every good player on Minnesota to go to a new team.
Yeah,
because they'll just never be a competent franchise until like they just get better guys in their front office that can like change the culture.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, you won't have so many like continuous bad draft picks. Like,
yep. And at 17, I had Devin Booker.
Okay.
It was really hard, Devin Booker and Donovan Mitchell for me. But I know that Donovan Mitchell has the edge in terms of winning. Like, he's been winning since he came into the league.
Okay, so you had Booker over Mitchell.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't. Okay.
But the reason I did is I just remember last year watching Booker in the bubble and just how great he can be. And I just trust him more as a late game situation guy because of his ability to shoot. That's why I have him there.
I give Mitchell the edge because he's like this combo guard that he can like, I guess they're both combo guards, but what I'm trying to say, like, I think he runs the offense a little bit better than Booker might, but just slightly. I think Booker can run an offense really well, but they got Chris Paul for a reason, right? With Mitchell, he can play the one or the two really well. And I know they lost in 7 games and blew a 3-win lead, but Mitchell was not the problem in that. Like,
no,
him and Murray were going at it, and he averaged like over 30 points per game in the playoffs, and that to me puts him over Devin Booker because Booker hasn't done that yet.
Yeah, and again, this is really high praise, but he reminds me of a modern, and it's so weird, like today's league version of Dwayne Wade. Like if Dwayne Wade came into today's league, he'd be shooting more threes like Mitchell does. So I think that's where the comparison comes in.
Era definitely matters a lot.
Because they're undersized two guards who are super athletic and hit the mid range well, and they're very similar. So I had Mitchell at 19, and I already said I had Booker at 17. So
okay, moving into our top 16, I had Kyrie Irving at 16, Paul George at 15, and Jason Tatum at 14.
We have the same 3 guys.
Really?
I have Kyrie at 16, but then I have Tatum at 15 and Paul George at 14.
Okay, so you have Tatum just ahead of Paul George.
Paul George just ahead of Tatum.
Yeah, okay. That to me is like a toss-up right now because they do very similar things, right? I just think Paul George's performance in the bubble.
Yeah.
I just can't. I don't think that should be understated. Like the last couple of years, he's clearly dropped off in terms of stats in the playoffs, as where Tatum took off in the playoffs last year and got to the conference finals. But yeah, I definitely see the argument to where you still put Paul George over Tatum just based off what he's done in his career. Yeah. So.
Then at 13, I have Jimmy Butler.
Okay.
Bradley Beal at 12 and Dame Lillard at 11. The thing here with Jimmy Butler, if you were to ask me who the better player right now between Paul George and Jimmy Butler is, I'd tell you Paul George. But I can't understate what Jimmy did last year. It was amazing. So I have him just right above him. And then, like I said.
Okay, so I had Bradley Beal at 13, right behind Jimmy Butler.
Okay.
And then Jimmy Butler at 12, and then Joel Embiid at 11. Okay. So, I could see the argument for Beal being better than Jimmy Butler, kind of, but what Jimmy Butler did for that Heat team in the playoffs, it was kind of inspiring for me because, they were a 5 seed. They weren't supposed to even make it past the second round, but they got to a finals and gave the Lakers, a pretty good series, right? That shouldn't even have been a 6-game series, but Jimmy Butler was just so relentless and on the offensive end and the defensive end. So I think his performance in the playoffs in his career, and just his ability to make the teams that he goes to, that much better. I
He has
think he
that Chris
deserves to be
Paul
over
effect
Bradley
that
Beal.
we were talking
Yeah,
about. It's
yeah,
just
for sure.
locker room
Like
leadership.
when you bring Jimmy Butler to your team, like he immediately changes the culture, whether for the better, or in like Minnesota's case, he was trying to be that culture changer, but it just wasn't fitting because like they just aren't in a position to be that. Like, and then I had Embiid at 11, so you have him in your top 10. So.
Yes, I do.
So do you have him at 10 then, or what?
No, I'll start with my top 10 here. I have James Harden at 10.
Okay.
I know that's controversial to people, but these guys above him have consistently played, first of all, and they've been just as good in my opinion.
Okay.
But I have Embiid at 9, and then Jokic at 8. So you give your thoughts on that if you like.
So Embiid at 9. So I agree with you. Jokic slightly over Embiid.
Okay.
And that was not easy for me to decide. It was kind of a toss-up at the end of the day. But putting Dame in between them, this was like this 9 through 11 for me was definitely the hardest part.
I agree.
Like Dame over Embiid. Like I'll take either of those guys honestly, but like I'll take Dame's resume any day over Joel Embiid, to be honest. As of right now, by the end of the year, the way Embiid's playing, if he wins an MVP, then obviously he takes over Dame's spot. But yeah, that spot was really tough for me. All three of those guys are so good, and they deserve to be in the top 10. But you know, with the guys above them, it's hard to put them in there. So
Yep. It's really hard. I have Jokic slightly over Embiid, like you said. Just his I don't even want to say his.
And that was hard for me to put Embiid behind Jokic, just the way he's playing. But Jokic is averaging like a triple-double right now and carrying a pretty depleted Nuggets roster at the moment. So I just thought he should get, you know, his credit for averaging a triple-double as a center, which has never been like even close to done, right? So.
And then I guess we could do these next 7 through 5, and then when we get, or we can do 7 and 6, and then we do our top 5. We can go back to back for each position. Okay. But at 7, I had Luka Doncic, and I had Anthony Davis at 6.
So you had Embiid at what?
9.
So you had Embiid over James Harden.
Yep.
Okay, that is controversial. But right now, Embiid is playing better. I can't quite give him the nod yet because he has missed 5 games.
Okay.
And credit to him, when he doesn't play, they're 0-5.
Yeah.
So that kind of shows you his value. But James Harden obviously held a ton of value for the Rockets as well. He averaged 35 points a game. Was always one of the top scorers in the league while in Houston. But now he's not going to average 35 points a game playing with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. But I still think he deserves to be over guys, or slightly ahead of guys like Luka and Embiid. So, yeah, I had James Harden at 7, and then Luka Doncic right behind him with a chance to move up in this list. This Luka. So
yeah. Okay.
So yeah.
So top 5 here.
Well, top 6.
Yeah. Well, I said 6. I had Anthony Davis.
Okay. You had Anthony Davis. I had Steph Curry, and then AD just ahead of Steph Curry.
Okay, so Anthony Davis is in your top 5.
Okay. Yeah.
I get it. Anthony Davis.
That was tough for me.
The more well-rounded player, like he just won a championship. Defensively, he's great. Steph Curry has to be hidden, not quite, but at times. I had Steph Curry just because he's Steph Curry. Like his impact is ridiculous offensively. Like him being on the court draws so much attention. It naturally makes him a great passer, like a great distributor. Simply because the second he passes half court, you have to defend him, and I just have him there. He's a 2-time MVP, first ever unanimous. He's spectacular. He's the greatest shooter of all time. It's not even close to me.
He's reclaimed the top point guard spot in the league, I think. For
sure.
And I'm a huge Damian Lillard fan. He's one of my favorite players, but I have to give Curry his credit. He's clearly taken the top point guard spot.
Wearing a Damian Lillard shirt right now.
I am. That's true. I almost didn't even realize that until you said something. But, yeah, I had Curry at 6 and then Anthony Davis at 5. Like, there's just nothing that AD can't do. And, like, at 6'11", it's just incredible what he does with the basketball in his hands. So,
Yeah.
and then, he's coming off an NBA championship, so I think he's worthy of being in the top 5. And that's no knock on Steph Curry. I think he's worthy of a top 5 as well. But, like, the NBA is just stacked. Like, when it comes down to it, like, there's so many good guys. So, moving into our top 4, right?
Yep.
Let's see how similar our lists are.
I'm looking, and I think it's the same.
Is it the same? Okay.
I have Giannis at 4. Yeah.
Yeah. Kawhi at 3. Kevin Durant, and then Bron.
And Josh Smith. Oh, yeah, LeBron.
Mason Plumlee. Oh.
Yeah, no, LeBron James at number 1. Surprise.
I want Iguodala.
Surprise.
Yeah, we don't even need to talk about LeBron.
LeBron James came into the league when I was 3 years old, and he's still the number 1 guy. He's kind of
36.
Yep.
Most guys that are 36 are laying on the couch eating potato chips.
Yeah.
And LeBron is almost averaging a triple-double and winning titles still. So
it's insane. And then
it is crazy.
Kevin Durant's already back to that guy that we've seen.
Yeah, I think Kevin Durant, before the injury, was clearly the number 2 guy, and it was a debate for him being 1 because he had taken LeBron out in the finals a couple years there, but
and he had the Mountain Stars team, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I never put him ahead of LeBron, because though he beat LeBron in the finals, like, LeBron would average like a 40-point triple-double and carry these, pretty mediocre Cavs teams.
He had 51 in Game 1, and then J.R. Smith forgot to take a timeout.
Okay, I wouldn't say mediocre besides the 2018 team. The 2018 team had no business
being
playing
in the playoffs, let alone the finals. Like that's probably the first pick without LeBron James. Like, that was an awful team.
Yeah. That's why I say that 2018 LeBron was probably the best version, like, all around. Like, there was nothing he couldn't do that year. Like, it was crazy. Just behind them is Kawhi and Giannis. Is definitely a debate. The Giannis AD debate has definitely become one of those that's highly talked about, but I still give Giannis the edge over Anthony Davis because he won Defensive Player of the Year last year.
2-time MVP, back-to-back.
Yeah, and he's the back-to-back MVP. Like, I just can't put Anthony Davis over him because Giannis just has a lot more accolades than he does.
And I have Kawhi over him just for the simple fact that Kawhi is way better at creating his own shot, and you can trust him more late in the game. And we've seen Kawhi.
They're both incredible on the defensive end.
And we've seen Kawhi win a championship, so that's really what it is for him being above Giannis. So
that wraps up our top 50 players. Let us know in the comments down below what you would change.
Yeah.
And
we'll let you know why you're wrong. So.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to give us your 50 player list, obviously, but just shout some guys out that you think should be higher or lower on our list. But yeah, that's gonna be at the end of our 10th episode, I want to say.
So 10.
We did our top 50 NBA players. If you did enjoy, drop a like, hit the subscribe button if you are new. We are the Hoop Life Productions podcast. We love you guys. Peace out.
Thank you.